So, Galen, you are back from the Nihon.
Yes, I am. I just got back a couple days ago.
What was your least favorite part of Japan?
The temperature.
You are
Like-
a tall, sweaty man, and you did not deal well with the extreme humidity.
Hello, my name is Daniel Sweatyman. I come from Sweatyville.
Population, sweaty.
Population, me, in a puddle. Great lakeside property, I must admit. Yeah, I have never been in a position before where I had a sweat rag that I took around with me, which isn't unnormal in Japan.
Nope, that's normal.
But I could actually wring it out like I was like squeezing out water from like a mop.
Oh, you're filthy. You're garbage over there.
Ah, God.
You needed more than
so
one
hot.
sweat rag. I saw that thing.
I did. And I had to have like a protective layer around the sweat bag so I didn't like leave sweat stains in my pocket when I put it into my pocket.
Well, that's wonderful. That's really well prepared. You know what, though? You didn't urinate once the entire day because despite all of the drinking of water, everything came out your pores.
Exactly. I converted all of my urine into sweat.
And now you have bladder cancer.
Probably. As well as like skin cancer, maybe? I don't know.
Japan was
a really
wonderful.
Dark turn.
Hello, my ring-con and leg straps. Friends, thank you for joining us today on Nintendo Everything Podcast. Episode, was it 46?
We are on 46 now, yeah.
We are back. Thank you so much for allowing us to, I would say take a break, but we were not on a break. But thank you. We did not have an episode last week, and we are so very sorry for that. We had 45 episodes in a row, and I really wanted to go like at least a year without having one episode off, but it was just too impossible because Tokyo Game Show was last week. Right, Galen?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Tokyo
This
Game.
is Galen. He is sweaty.
Thank you.
I didn't
Thank you very
prepare anything at all. I'm so sorry.
So welcome to a regular episode of Nintendo Everything Podcast.
This one's going to be interesting because we're going to be chilling out. We don't have too much prepared, but there's a lot to talk about. We're going to have to just kind of remember it as we go.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
So be sure to send us emails, I guess, if there was something that we totally missed out and you wanted to hear us talk about. NintendoEverythingPod@gmail.com. Just email us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm your host, Oni Dino.
Wait, did I get the first introduction this episode? Yes.
I hate this. What is this power move you've done to me?
Ha ha ha!
Oh my goodness. Well, also, you sounded like a Korok just now, like an adult Korok. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. You went ha ha ha. That means that we found your Deku nuts, Galen. What is coming up in this episode, Galen?
Well, this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Tokyo Game Show.
A lot of bit about the Tokyo Game Show.
A lot of bit. And we're going to be hearing all about your first-hand experiences there and all the wonderful times that you had in the land of Nihongo.
I'm in still also... Well, I'm not... Okay, I'm in Korea right now, but I'm still in Japan. Still...
Your heart is still in Japan.
Still on a working holiday. My heart, honestly, no idea where it is because it's cold and black and frigid.
It's probably left on the, the Shibuya streets after, what, how many meltdowns did you guys have?
So many meltdowns, honestly, but I've lived through every single meltdown.
It's true. I even got to live through the Akihabara meltdown.
The
I'm very
Akihabara
happy about
meltdown
that.
was the cusper.
I loved that. That was such a fun night.
If any of us had one more drink, we would have been in like nuclear meltdown mode. But we didn't, and we were on a perfect cusp, and if you have been paying attention to Galen's Instagram or my Instagram, you've been seeing it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I can't remember, was that the night that we did karaoke, or was that the night before?
That was a different night because that would have been real bad.
Yeah, that would have been super bad.
And then
Although I
also,
did get-
what are we talking about also?
We are also going to be talking about the Ring Fit Adventure that Nintendo just announced. And we're also going to be talking about some new Pokemon that have graced an appearance with us today.
Yes, so let's farly reach for the fetching as we talk a little bit about, that didn't work, our adventure log.
Nice.
So I haven't played anything because I am in the land of video games and did not play video games. Just real busy. That's all I can say. Galen, what have you been playing?
You know what? I actually really wish that you and I had gotten a chance to go to one of the arcades while we were out there.
Didn't we?
No, we never did. My wife and I and the people that we were traveling with, we managed to go when we were in Akihabara. We went to one. We found this really cool game, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was called, but it was a rhythm game where you have to actually touch these side panels as the notes are coming at you.
Is it the washing machine game?
Possibly.
It looks like a front-loader washing machine, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, the notes come at you, and you have to touch these light touch panels that are ringing around the screen. But what's interesting about it is that it goes in a 360 ring.
As the
notes are coming, you're swiping up and down, you're going in full circles. It's like I'm reliving my mid-2000s Para dreams.
When did you have Para dreams?
2002 to 2004.
Oh, I wish you had said 2002 to 2002. My goodness. Go on.
But yeah, in more of the home console one, I want to give a shout out to the people who actually voted on that Twitch poll that I made. I actually have been playing a game that was requested by you guys.
Oh.
I have picked up and been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelists.
Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the only joke that you need to make there.
Great. Good. I'm so funny. What's going on with that game? Tell me.
It's pretty fun. I wish I could recommend it to everybody, but I really do feel like this is a niche of, if you're a fan of the anime or if you are a fan of the card game, this is a fantastic time. There's so much content in it, and there's so much of the history of the game itself. For the anime series, it goes all the way from the original one, that's the most well-known in my opinion, so you've got Yugi, Kaiba, Joey, or whatever the Japanese names of them are. But you also have like the other series that you can go to as well, so Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Yu-Gi-Oh! On Wheels, Yu-Gi-Oh! On,
God, your goddamn
horse.
list, Galen. 2 is enough, 3 is max.
Exactly. But it goes through each of the series that they have on there, and you can follow the storyline that goes along with it. So it really kind of puts you in that moment of, if you are a fan of the anime, you can actually get a feel of what it was like in the show and kind of relive that a little bit. And of course, it also has the ability that you can make your own decks and everything with all the cards that are there, and they've updated it with all of the most modern rule sets, but they've also selected it from when they have made those changes. So if you were like me and you were the kind of person who only played when the original series was out, you can have that be the rules. You can have like 3 copies of Graceful Charity in your deck, and nobody's the wiser. So yeah, it's been a nostalgia trip for me to kind of go through this, and I find myself going through this maybe about once every 2 years or so, where I'll like be just surfing YouTube just on a whim and come across like, oh, here's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. This could be fun. I remember that game. And then I'm like, oh, hey, I remember I was super into this for a little bit.
Nice.
One thing I do want to call out about this game, though, that I didn't expect, that I very much appreciate, is touchscreen functionality.
Oh, good. That's an underutilized feature for a lot of games that could use it on the Switch, I think.
Absolutely. And it's completely optional. I mean, you can play this in the dock if you want to, but being on the go and in the plane and everything, I played it all in handheld. I found myself actually taking off the control, or like the actual Joy-Cons, stowing them away and holding the Switch display console itself, almost like a phone. And just, I could do absolutely everything with that unit on its own.
Does it support both like vertical and horizontal modes?
No, it's just the horizontal.
Okay.
I don't really think that it would work if you tried to like flip it up like a phone and like it rotates around.
I've never seen a Go Yu-Gi-Oh, so I don't know what it looks like.
I will say that it was very user-friendly, and like the user interface when you're actually, whether you are using a controller or just tapping on the screen, it was very intuitive with everything that you were doing.
That's great.
The only time that I actually preferred to go back to the controller was when I was actually deck building, and that's because they have a lot of hotkeys where you can be like, okay, here are all your trunk of cards that you have. And then you can just, with like 2 button presses, move it straight over to your deck.
I see.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're enjoying it, and you think you're going to keep going with it every 2 years, huh?
Well, probably. And I do want to reiterate that there is a lot of content, no matter what you remember of the game in there. So, like, for me, I kind of dropped out right when, what's the one after Yu-Gi-Oh! GX? Yeah, the one with the motorbikes.
Galen. I'm the wrong tree.
I kind of dropped out at that point, but with all the cards that I've been getting, I feel like I've still been making pretty competitive decks in it, and yeah, I'm still having a lot of fun.
Cool.
So.
I do remember, because I played the preview build at E3, a while ago. I do recall the attendant telling me that this has all of the DLC, which is apparently, it's not just like a $20 DLC. When it was originally released on PS4, it's like $100 or something nuts. It's all of that into this one package, and the game is how much USD, Galen?
It's only $40. Yeah,
okay.
It's only $40 USD.
So it is like kind of a definitive edition thingy.
Correct. And I would also like to point out that if you got the Japanese version, which does support English like lettering and fonts and voice in it, it's actually 3,000 yen, I believe.
Oh, so it's basically 1,000 yen or $10 cheaper.
Yeah, it's like $10 cheaper on the Japanese eShop.
Interesting.
The biggest hassle for me was trying to get set up with the Japanese eShop account.
What? Why? That was easy to make, right?
It was easy to make, but it was the credit card and the cards that I had weren't internationally compatible, so every time I tried to link it to the Japanese eShop, it wouldn't, like, click.
Did you try PayPal?
I tried PayPal, but then it took, like, a week and a half for it to transfer the funds over, because, again, it wanted me... It was really weird. It was a huge, gigantic hassle. I ended up, like, saying, I'll just wait for the English release to come out. But I was actually thinking about this when we were over in Japan, and I totally should have picked up some of those Japanese eShop cards over there.
Yeah. If you still want them, let me know, and I'll get them for you.
I might take you up on that, but yeah.
I recall it not being a problem for me at all, but maybe that's because I use my PayPal account, like, for work and stuff, so... Maybe you needed some sort of authentication going on. Whatever. I don't know what kind of money laundering scheme you're running over there.
It's true. It's all the dirty money.
Speaking of dirty laundry, the washing machine rhythm game that you were talking about, I looked it up while you were, talking about this really boring stuff. It's called Waka.
Ah, that's right.
And it's made by Marvelous. Marvelous, who just made Daemon X Machina, which just came out, which I haven't played. This is a video game podcast.
We play video games on the show?
Also, this reminds me, I don't know if I talked about this on the show or if I just talked to you about it, but I played Astral Chain on the... Oh, I think maybe I talked about it. Anyway, that game, definitely for me...
You mentioned it briefly.
I did? Okay, so I just want to say, again, that it's definitely a TV game for me. There's just a little bit too much going on for my very old eyes. I got the shit eyes. On the handheld screen, I couldn't really... I don't know if I couldn't follow it or what was going on, but it's the same problem I have with Smash, where I'm just like, oh, I'm like a tiny baby holding this in my hands and I don't know what to do with it. It needs to be on a TV for me.
I can definitely see that happening. I do want to call out that I did catch up on all of the episodes of Game Married that came out when we were overseas.
Arigato.
Yeah, I've been watching your and Cliff's playthrough of Astral Chains.
Oh, thank you. You keep saying Astral Chains, man. Literally every time you say it the wrong way.
Now I'm just saying it just to spite you. So.
Well, now it's becoming a running joke. So thank you very much. It's killing me, honestly, to upload only 3 days a week because it's making series go by very slowly, in my opinion. So I don't know how many times I apologize for this. Like, it's only for me, but I feel really bad about it. So in the future, we will go back to 6 days a week, everybody. And thank you for tuning in to Game Married on YouTube, especially Galen.
Yeah. I left comments on the episode where you called me a goblin. So
I called you a goblin?
You called me a goblin. I have no idea why either.
I just have this, like, deep, like, fermenting foundation of hatred for you, I guess. I don't know, but I love you, though.
I mean, it's been years in the making, so I can't really blame you for it, so.
Yeah.
It's like racism and old people. Like, they're too old and too stubborn to, like, change.
Do not compare anything I have to say to racism. I hate you. This is why. Look what you just did. Everybody listening right now, you just found out why I have the feelings I do. Oh my god.
He's so angry he completely forgot to upload the UFO Mukbang.
We didn't record our UFO Mukbang.
They didn't know that.
Oh my god, you're confusing the listeners. So, we have to talk about what a UFO Mukbang is. This is going to be very brief. It's not what it sounds like. A mukbang is the Korean word for, like, not overeating, but, like, the big eating thing. So, what's that, like, competitive eating kind of situation? I'm sure there's a real word for it in English. But you just basically get a ton of food, and then you sit there and you eat it all. They're all over the internet. And we got UFO chicken. UFO chicken in Japan is super popular. It's based off of something Korean, I think. I was asking my Korean friend about it, and she was kind of hazy on, like, what the hell is UFO chicken. Yeah. But in the middle
by the way, I've never heard of UFO chicken before.
Yeah. I only heard about it in Japan and only in the Koreatown of Japan. So it's in the middle and it's on a burner sitting on your plate is like a fondue kind of chicken, fondue kind of cheese. But the cheese is like awful American plastic cheese, so it melts and then
like Kraft shredded.
Yeah. So it melts, but then as soon as it, like, goes down to below boiling temperature, it turns into just plastic goop. And that makes it really stretchy and everything, and visually it looks cool. It tastes like garbage.
I do have to admit, the what was it, the honey garlic chicken wings were really tasty. Yeah,
so it's a bunch of fried chicken, and the honey garlic one was my favorite for sure. But anyway, you just dip that in the cheese, and on my Instagram I put a bunch of pictures of Galen eating it, and he looks like a Viking monster.
Just like I want to be perceived as.
Well, you're doing a hell of a job. Let's talk about some video game news.
Nice. We talk about that on the show?
Excellent.
By the way, I am in Seoul right now, and I'm in sort of... Shut up. I'm in sort of a industrial-ish area, so there's a lot of sounds going on outside. If you hear the police coming for me, then you know what's going on. Let's talk a bit about Tokyo Game Show. That happened last week? Yeah, last week, because it was happening during the times that we would record, edit, and upload the podcast, so that's why we were not present last week. So sorry, but I couldn't fit it into my schedule. I'm so sorry.
You were not present for, like, most of that week, just in a sense of, like, how much traveling back and forth you had to do.
Oh, it sucked. It so sucked. I don't know why I thought that TGS was held in some venue in Odaiba. So I thought, okay, so this is only for, like, people who understand a little bit of, like, Tokyo geography. I thought, being in, like, downtown Tokyo, where I'm always at, I thought it was in Odaiba. Odaiba is in a bay area, about 40-ish minutes ride by train. Not a problem. It's on the other side of that bay in Makuhari Messe, which is almost 2 hours away, depending on your trip, depending on traffic, in terms of people traffic, getting into the trains. It was pretty awful because you don't get a seat many of those times, so you're standing for nearly 2 hours each way every day. And that was really killing me after running around all over the place. Like, I don't even know how many miles, maybe 15 miles. Anyway, not trying to play a little tiny violin here, but just saying that's why I was so crazy busy. And we were so busy. Nintendo Everything was so crazy busy this event. I thought that we were gonna only have a few, appointments. And it ended up being almost as busy as E3 for us.
Wow.
Yeah, so good problem to have, for sure.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks to hear you were running around so much. And especially, again, I have to call it out. The Japanese summer heat is, like, it is a challenge.
Yeah. I mean, it only goes up to, the high 20s or, like, the 90s, depending on your measurements. But the humidity is just at, like, 200% everywhere. And even though I'm a tiny person and I do handle the heat very well, it's still rough for me. Like, it's just rough. And no human is allowed to live here, despite it being the largest metropolitan area in the world.
Right.
So TGS, that started for me on Wednesday, unofficially, because Playism had a event that they invited us to. Thank you very much to Playism. Playism is a, what do I want to say? They're like a publisher, producer, developer, based here in Japan, despite me being in Korea when I say here. And they announced several different games, and they showed off many more, and many of them were announced to be coming to Switch.
Cool.
Yeah. It was a really big, lovely event held in Akasaka. Akasaka is like a really ritzy area where a lot of, foreign businessmen and businesswomen will come to. So,
okay.
Real fancy area. I went to this, like, what is it? It's called the Public Red Akasaka. It's a restaurant-ish area, part of a hotel. And I was like, I am not a nice enough person to be walking in through these doors. You see me on my Insta, Galen, you know me. I'm a step down below that class. So they announced a ton of different games, a lot of really cool indie games as well that are made by a lot of Japanese developers, but also some international developers as well, coming to the Switch and coming to other platforms as well. So do check out our website for all of the coverage on that. They made a couple of announcements that we broke news on. It was great stuff. Great stuff.
What was the one game that struck out at you the most?
So honestly, there was a couple of games I definitely want to mention. One of them, this game is not exactly coming to Switch, but the games that it makes are coming to Switch.
Okay.
So there's a game called Pixel Game Maker coming out. It's like RPG Maker. And it's... Yeah. It is a game that's coming to Steam, and then the games that you create in there can be published to Nintendo Switch. Like, they advertise that.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so you can make top-down games, side-scrolling action games, lots of Metroidvanias, things like that. And it's useful for people who don't have the programming knowledge but have the puzzle-solving knowledge, I guess, to use the tools to make their own stuff and have creativity. I always love when creative tools are given to people and making things more accessible. So
absolutely.
Definitely something to watch out for.
I love object-oriented programs like this. Like, RPG Maker was fantastic because you didn't need to know the coding and everything like that to go into it, but you could understand what it was that you wanted to do and just follow the logic of the steps to go along with it. So, object-oriented programming is super easy and super encouraging to kind of get into that field if it's something that you want to passively have an interest in.
And then two other games that I wanted to mention for sure are Orange Blood, which is coming to Switch. That is being made by, I believe the guy was Okinawan. I can't remember if he was or if he wasn't, but he's a Japanese developer, and it is a JRPG that has pixelated visuals, and the story is what's most interesting. It's based off of a particular town, I believe he said in Okinawa, that has its own history of... It's like an alternate timeline of this town. in the 90s, which I don't know what the significance of the 90s is, but anyway, so this actual town is Okinawan, so it has like an interesting, unique culture of like slightly Chinese, slightly Japanese influences. It was under American rule, for lack of better terms, sorry. And then it went back to being Japanese, so it has like these unique 3 different cultures in it, so it's a unique town, which is what the dev said himself. So So it's based on that kind of town where it's all these different cultures coming together in this like cyberpunk alternate dimension. I don't even know. It's just intriguing, and I want to see what comes from it. And if it's a JRPG, that's my garbage. That's my gay garbage right there.
Yeah.
And then another game that's coming is Omori, coming to the Switch. I think that this is based off of the 3DS game that came out. I think that was only in Japan back on the 3DS, but now it's coming to, I think, Steam, and then PlayStation 4 and Switch. This is heavily inspired by games like Earthbound, and also inspired by Yume Nikki, which is like an indie darling throughout the internet over years and years and years. And then there's a bunch of remakes and inspired by games that are even on the Switch right now. So Omori is also one to look out for.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks to Playism.
Very cool, very cool.
It was a lovely event, and I got to talk with all these wonderful developers of all these wonderful games, and we're hopefully going to have some good interviews or maybe even podcast episodes coming up in the sometime near future whenever, the certain games come out, so pay attention to that.
That'd be awesome. Check out the website.
Check out our website, Nintendo Everything, Datacom.
DATACOMM.
You can't. And then later on that Wednesday night, I was invited to a really fantastic event at Circus Tokyo. We were invited actually through our podcast. The event was called Video Game Prom. It was super, super cool. It was a pre-TGS event where there was a whole bunch of different developers of indie and bigger games as well there. And everybody was just hanging out, drinking, socializing, and networking. There was a fantastic band playing as well. It was a band called Nice Legs, and one of them, if not many of them, are video game producers as well, or video game devs, I should say, as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So big thanks to Zach, Nakata, Scott, and Mark for inviting us and having us there. We're definitely going to do some more in-depth stuff on the things that they announced there. It was also really lovely to hang out with Swery, one of my video game developer heroes, and have a drink with him. He's awesome, and his English is really good. Like, I met him and I was like, of course talking to him in Japanese, and then he's like, oh, thank you, like that makes me like he's tasukarimasu. What the fuck is English? Like, oh, thank you, that's a big help that, you're speaking Japanese, that way I don't have to speak English. And then we were talking with all these other people, and they didn't speak Japanese, so then he's talking English, and then I'm thinking in my head, like, this muffa actually speaks English, what is he talking about? Like, I'm helping him out because of Japanese. His English is great. And that man loves to drink, too. He's a great guy. So, Swery, it was great to see him, too, because he's the guy that made games like Deadly Premonition, which was just announced for Switch, Deadly Premonition 2 coming out for Switch, and he's also got The Good Life, which was a Kickstarter game where you're living in a town and everybody at night turns into cats and dogs, I believe. I only remember the cats part because I'm selfish.
Oh, I remember that game.
Yeah, it's coming to Switch and PS4 and probably Steam and all that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
he is a very creative person that makes weird games, and my god, do we just need more of that in the world. Like, less safe games, you know what I mean? Like, I know that those safe games need to exist and need to be fun for people, like, say Spider-Man on PS4. That was a safe game and mainstream game, but you know what, that's fine, that's for people, but we need creativity to drive these things, because those safe games got created off of the foundation of people trying new things out.
Exactly.
That's Swery. So it was really great to talk to him about that kind of stuff, and I of course gave him my card, and we're gonna hopefully set something up in the near future, some sort of interview or something like that. And it was really lovely when I handed him the card and he saw, our branding on there, the Nintendo Everything branding. The first thing he said is like, "Oh, I know you guys," and I was like, "Oh, arigato." So it was really nice to hear recognition.
Oh, that's so cool.
I mean, we are one of the bigger Nintendo websites for sure, but still, it's nice to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Absolutely.
Do you know have you played any of the games that he's made or worked on?
No, and especially The Good Life is one that has been on my low-key radar of things like, hey, I want to keep an eye on that. And, man, I really need to play that game.
Yeah. He's also, God, what else? He made D4, which, oh God, these are all like niche titles. He made The Missing, which is on Switch as well.
Okay.
I need to play that game. I bought it already, but I still haven't played it yet.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one myself.
Basically, they're all super, super character and narrative-driven games.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I live for. There's a lot of jank in a lot of them, especially games like Deadly Premonition. Yeah. But it was nice talking to him because he talked about how he just wants more time to work on video games. I think that he, unfortunately, because of money and stuff, and when you have producers involved and people who are funding your projects, you have to work under certain deadlines. And I got a good feeling from him that he was like, no, I just want to create. Like, give me as much time as I need to create, that kind of thing. He didn't say exactly that. That's just kind of the feeling I got from him when we were talking about just general development. And it makes me love him that much more. I just want to support his stuff. If I had money, I would be a producer and be like, listen, dude, you have all the time in the world, So anyway, that was a great event, the video game prom. That was the inaugural event, and they're going to try and do it every year. So I will, of course, attend every year and do some coverage on that. It was really nice to meet so many different streamers and developers just working on creative things and trying to chase the game.
That's so cool.
And then Thursday, kicking it off on Tokyo Game Show, my first event in the morning, or first meeting in the morning, was with Koei Tecmo, and it was on Fairy Tail, the video game coming out for PS4 and Switch. Have you been paying attention to any of Fairy Tail, Galen?
Not as much as I should have been, so refresh my memory on what this one is.
So, I do not know about the anime very much. Cliff has watched all of it. And he really likes it. It's a very long-running anime series about like magicians and different academies and stuff like that. And everybody's a magician. Oof. Magician. It's a little rough this morning in Seoul, guys. Sorry. And this is going to be made by Gust, which is like a subsect of Koei Tecmo. They make a lot of the games like the Atelier series. And oh goodness, I'm trying to think about what I can and can't say about this because they gave me a lot of information that can't be talked about yet. Oh, we know it's going to be command-based. That's okay. That's good to say. It's like a turn-based, command-based game.
Okay.
Everybody's using big magic, big, crazy spells, lots of characters that people love, that kind of thing.
As you do in the series, like...
Very anime.
Yeah.
So I interviewed Mr. Keisuke Kikuchi, who is the producer on the project, and they were showing me, like, they debuted me the actual game, and, they gave us a live gameplay demo, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm taking notes, taking audio notes. In my head, I'm thinking, like, wow, I am so behind on video game news because I didn't know that this game looked like this. I didn't know it played like this or whatever the hell was going on. And then after the interview, I was talking to our Koei Tecmo rep. He's an amazing dude. I don't know if he wants his name said, so I won't say it, but he's an amazing dude. And I was, mentioning that, like, wow, I'm sorry, I feel behind. He's like, oh no, you're like the second person in the world that we've shown this to. Not in the world, but you know what I mean. Like, the second member of outside of Koei Tecmo that we've shown this to. And I was like, oh, that was all, like, totally brand new? He's like, yes, I'll send you embargo information tonight. And I was like, okay, great. I don't feel like I'm out of the loop. So just because I want to be careful about, what I can and can't say, I just want to say that it is looking super intriguing. Even if you're not into Fairy Tail, the way that the battle systems are are implemented in this game, definitely one to watch out for. Lots of crazy attacks like you would expect for Koei Tecmo.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also it kind of syncs up pretty well with like the fairy tale anime itself. I haven't watched it myself, but I've seen clips and I've heard people talking about it, and it's one of those ones where it kind of tilts on the anime extreme, but in a good, fun way.
Yeah, like very bombastic, crazy attacks.
Yeah.
And that's what Koei Tecmo does best.
I'm very excited to see that translated into video game form.
Yeah. So do check out that one. Do check out our website, because in the near future we will have our full interview come up with Mr. Kikuchi, and it's going to be a lot of interesting information in there.
Awesome.
And then after that, I met with NISA. What is their actual acronym? It's like Nippon America. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you do, but maybe our listeners don't. I'm so sorry. Let me look up.
The Disgaea guys.
Yeah, the Disgaea guys.
Prinny's dude.
Yeah, it's the Prinny's dudes.
Please tell me that they had people in Prinny suits who were just like walking around places, because that would make my day.
I'm pretty sure. No, that would be great. I'm pretty sure it's Nippon Ichi Software America. That's who I met with.
Gotcha.
So they set up an interview for us with the director of Langrisser 1 and 2, Akiho-san, and also the artist of the original games, Urushihara Sensei. And that was awesome. That is
awesome. Wow.
Yeah, it was such a, rare opportunity to meet with Urushihara Sensei. We got a lot of really good information on that. We're going to have that interview up in the near future. Urushihara Sensei gave us lots of stuff that even the people that we were hanging out with didn't know about. They were like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? Like, that's what your favorite kind of stuff is? So we got a lot of intriguing things out of it. So if you're into his work or the Langrisser games, definitely keep an eye out for that one.
Awesome.
And then I met with the guys at Forever Entertainment. Do you know who Forever Entertainment is, Galen?
They sound very, very familiar. What kind of games have they done?
So they've made a lot of different kinds of games. The most prolific in recent memory is the Panzer Dragoon remake.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got hands-on a very early build of Panzer Dragoon remake, and I'm not sure what I can and can't say right now, so I'm going to keep it light, but there's options in there for sure. The guys were awesome to talk to, and they told us a lot of information, probably too much information. So, and I don't want to blow up their spot by any means just for a scoop. That's really horrible, and that's bad. That's bad journalism in my opinion, even though I'm not a journalist per se. I pretend to be one on TV, and I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But we will be writing up some great information on what they told us, and probably, just making sure that it's all okay to post. So we're going to do a little vetting on that, but we will have some great information to debut in the near future on Panzer Dragoon.
Looking forward to it.
And then I went back to Koei Tecmo because we were the busiest with them. The Koei Tecmo guys and girls are just fantastic people, and they work really well with us, and they're one of our favorite people to work with because they're so accommodating, and they give us such great content and, what do I always say, just coverage that we can get out to the folks at home. We talked about Atelier Ryza, which is the new entry in the Atelier series, the very long-running Atelier series. This one, though, making waves, the Ryza game. I, myself, have not played an Atelier game before. As soon as I saw the art style and, the way that a lot of things were going with this game, I was like, you know what? This is a game for me.
Yeah. JRPG goodness.
Total JRPG goodness. It is a turn-based battle system, but it's very action-heavy. It almost feels like an action game in itself. And it's beautiful. The character designs are great. It doesn't feel super effeminate like a lot of the other Atelier games are, which is not so much my visual style. This one has just a kind of a wholesome farmer anime aesthetic to it. So the main girl, Ryza, is the daughter of a farmer, and she's kind of an ordinary girl. She's not a super special crazy girl or anything like that. So that was kind of their That was their theme that they went with when making this game.
Okay.
Yeah. So we met with Junzo Hosoi, the producer of this game, and oh god, we met with another guy and I forgot his name. And we got lots of really interesting information on this game. I pride myself as an interviewer to talk with my interviewees about butts. So we talked about Ryza's butt in this game, and we got some good butt coverage. Got even more butt coverage coming out of TGS.
Did you cover all of the butt or just some of the butts?
Listen, it would take me all day to cover Atelier Ryza's butt. Have you seen that thing? So do check out our upcoming interview on that.
Check out those butts on. No.
Yeah. Listen, if there's one thing you can count on me for interviews for, it's that I will talk about butts any chance I can. Pride myself on that. Those guys were awesome too. It was so good talking to them. Like, everybody at Koei Tecmo that we talked to, including the actual developers, producers, directors, all that, they are just so passionate about all the products that they make and just happy. And that's so fantastic to see creative people doing that rather than, people behind the curtain that are just super strict and they're very much businessmen. Like, these people are developers and creative types first, and that's what we love to see.
That is awesome.
Then I went back to NISA. This is all in one day, by the way. I'm just running around. Went back to Nipponichi Software America for an interview on Alliance Alive. Now, I need to pull out all of my business cards to mention whom I met with, because I had a dais, a table of like 8 or 9 people that I interviewed for Alliance Alive. It was amazing.
Nice.
I have all of those cards though back in Tokyo because I only took one of my suitcases here with me to Seoul because it's just like a couple day trip.
Mm-hmm. So,
Galen, do you know what Alliance Alive is?
Why don't you remind us and the listeners?
Good job. So Alliance Alive came out on the 3DS, and it's made by a lot of JRPG veterans in the series, or in the genre. It is made by Furyu, Cattle Call, partly Grezzo, and then now it's being produced and released on the Nintendo Switch by NISA. And this is a JRPG for JRPG fans. The writer is the creator of the Suikoden series, and I spoke with him, Murayama Yoshitaka. So there's some talent behind this for sure.
Absolutely. I think I remember the 3DS version of this game originally. It's got kind of I want to say almost a chibi-esque animation style. It reminds me a lot of Bravely Default.
Yes,
if I'm correctly.
It does look like that. It has that like super deformed kind of look. Well, not super, but just like regular deformed look to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them about all these different things. We'll have a full interview for you on the website in the near future as well. We're working on all of our post content. But I asked them about like, what's different for this? Is it just an up-res? And they're like, no, we touched up so many different things. Because if you just up-res it, you see a lot of imperfections. And you see a lot of things that are like, ooh, this, like, their hair needs to be slightly moved over here. Or, ooh, the spacing and the positioning of the characters in this scene needs to be moved because now you can see a slightly bigger portion of the screen or whatever it is. So they made all of these tiny little adjustments. It's not just a quick up-res, a quick turnaround kind of thing. This is a game that I bought day one on the 3DS and still haven't played. There was a lovely listener that asked us about, like, what do you still have on your 3DS that you need to play? Alliance Alive is, like, top of that list. Well, guess what? I'm going to buy the frickin' Switch version too because I just love this and I want to support JRPG-ass JRPGs. And that's what this game is, for sure.
I'm afraid to ask, when does this game come out? Is it October?
Close. It's October. Oh wait, you just said October, didn't you?
It is October.
It's October. It's October. Holy crap. So it's, turn-based battles, navigating a world map, great character-driven, story-driven stuff. There's like 9 or 8 characters that are main characters. They're all basically the same level of importance too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate it when a game does focus on all of the playable characters with like an equal level of importance and intensity to it, as opposed to, hey, this is the main hero and this is the main hero's story. Everybody else is just kind of tagging along and filling certain tropes that go along with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like it, from a writer standpoint, that really kind of like flushes out the world quite a bit more.
Mm-hmm. It allows you to also relate to certain characters in different ways that you normally wouldn't, and it just, makes a stronger, more intense character, and each of them is that way, so that's great. Mm-hmm. And everybody that I met with in the interview was so passionate and happy, again, just like the Koei Tecmo team. I believe she's the director of this re-release, Ikeda-san. She was so funny and like precious. Like, I don't know, she has like this lovely, refined elegance with a bit of comedy to her that I just love about women. I don't know how to describe this. I'm sorry. This is probably sounding really creepy. But she was wonderful to talk to, and she was kind of the one directing the interview as well. She was the only person that I had on my schedule that I was supposed to meet, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm meeting with Ikeda-san. And then all of a sudden, there's like a huge thing, and it's like I went to a happy birthday party, and everybody was like, surprise!
That's so nice. That is nice.
Very nice. Big thank yous to NISA for setting up that interview, that amazing interview. And our translator, she was so lovely as well. We always like to have a translator so that way they can choose the words carefully, rather than just leaving it to us to translate. I mean, they can if they want, but I mean, I don't know. Like, in this interview, they said something, they're like, ooh, wait, we shouldn't translate that. I was like, okay, no worries, not gonna print it. But see, if that translator wasn't there, I would have printed that, because I wouldn't have known. So anyway, it's good to have a translator there, even though I speak Japanese.
I was actually just about to ask, do you in any of the interviews listen to what they say in Japanese and then listen to the translator and just be like, that's not what they said?
Well, yes, until the very last thing, because every translator I've met with in all of these different interviews has been top-notch, super high quality. Doing verbal translation, tsuyaku, is a totally different skill than translating text, which is what I focus on.
A written piece.
Yeah, your brain has to work in different ways. You have to listen to certain different things and be able to take notes as well in certain ways. It's difficult because there's also the translation, or excuse me, the way of conjugating words and verbs in Japanese, where you're either talking to your higher up or someone below you, or someone that's in your team. So you can say the exact same thing, but you have to translate it so many different ways that you have to keep that in your mind as well. And that is the part that really screws me up, honestly, because I don't use those really honorific keigo words so often. So when I go to use them, if I'm writing, I'm like, oh yeah, is that the right word? Oh wait, hold on, let me think about it for a second. No, it should be this one. But on the spot, it's like, oh, whoops, and then, oh, I just screwed up. Oh my god, everyone's looking at me. I don't speak Japanese. Run! Leave Japan! Like, my anxiety brain. It's just where my anxiety brain goes so bad.
I 100% know exactly what you're talking about. And that is the one thing that's always, baffled me personally about the Japanese language, and why all jokes aside, I have an enormous amount of respect for your ability to do what you do.
Oh, thank you.
And, I mean, it's... My wife is learning Japanese right now, and she's self-teaching herself, which I think is amazing, but she occasionally comes to me with questions, and it's like, okay, well, how do you say thank you? And I'm like, what's the context on this? Because it could be, arigato, oh, domo arigato, oh, domo arigato gozaimasu.
Yeah.
And it's like, each of those, technically, if you plugged them into Google Translate, they mean the same thing, but there's completely different contexts in what cases you would actually use them in.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of respect for anybody who can do that.
Yeah, and I mean, even just the normal verb to do, which is suru, for somebody else's action, you would use passive voice for it, if it's somebody higher than you. So you would say, instead of suru, you would say sareru. But then also, what's the conjugation on that? Is that sarete iku, or is that saremasu, or shi ni narimasu? Like, there's so many different ways to just say to do based on where this person, like, who is asking. And oh god, anyway, people that do vocal translation, high respect for them, because they have to think of those parts off the top of your head. Even if you have the knowledge in your head, being able to do that skill is incredibly difficult. So I really respect them. And I am not a tsuyakuka. I am not a vocal translator by trade. I am a honyakuka, the text translator by trade. So
you'll get there. I have every faith in you.
Well, I mean, it's like choosing a skill tree, right? I chose a different path. Like, it's the same level. It's, level 4 on your upgrade skills, right? But you just choose the different branching paths. I chose one branching path, right? I can go over there and I can go back. I can go back to being a tsuyakuka, but right now I'm on honyakuka.
Grind around for a little while, and get that multi-class experience.
I need to go to Japan to grind, everyone. I need to grind more in Japan. I hope my husband's okay with that.
Pretty sure there's an app for that.
Oh, there is. I've been using that app wrong the whole time. Naruhodo. すごい。勉強になりますわ。Good job, Galen.
Thank you.
Now let's blow through the rest of this because my Friday was just as busy. Went to an interview with Konami, the lovely Konami that's on the tip of everybody's tongue because they have so many wonderful IP in them. In them? What? Sorry, my English. Wow, English gets really weird when you're in Asia because you screw up your articles. In and on are difficult. And the also difficult. Very difficult. Anyway, Konami met with them on their new Contra game that is coming out very, very soon. Did an interview with Nakazato-san, who was...
The pachinko version?
Who...
Sorry, I was gonna...
Yeah, no. It's their history right now. That's fine.
Yeah.
But they're making a true Contra game. Honestly, it's fun. There's a demo on the eShop as well right now, so everybody check out that demo because I played the near gold version at E3, so I'm sure the demo plays better than that, even though that one was great. It's fun for sure. So I met with Nakazato-san, who was he the director on 3, and then starting from 3, he has been kind of the main guy of the series, whether he's been director or producer. And he's just kind of been the Contra guy in Konami. That man is adorable, and he has so much passion for this series and for the IP that Konami has. I know that the name of Konami is kind of frustrating for a lot of gamers because they moved away from video games so often and have made, pachinko slot games and stuff that just aren't video games. And so that's frustrating for a lot of gamers. So if this Contra game does interest you and you want to see Konami make more games, do consider picking it up because this is a passion project for sure. This is an actual Contra video game for sure. If it's not your thing, you don't have to support it, of course. But I played the demo and it's good fun. So I'm going to buy it.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, honestly. So check out our website for the interview coming up soon.
Nice.
Then I met with Dangen Entertainment. Those people are amazing. Those guys are just so cool. Guys and girls, excuse me. And they showed me some behind the stages? Behind closed doors.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. There we go. 英語を直してくれてありがとうございます。Thank you, Galen. So, they showed me behind the scenes builds of so many different games. Some I can't talk about just yet because they'll be announced in the future. They are also, pre what do I say? Not public release builds for sure. There's, a frame rate counter happening over there. There's some weird bugs happening over here. But
yeah.
Things are playing really well for these games that are going to be coming out. And can't say much about it, but in the near future, it'll be great. And we're going to put some preview impression articles out similar to the ones that I wrote on E3. We'll be putting out more of those on those games as well as we are able to post them. So
Awesome.
do check out NintendoEverything.com. Oh my god, sounds like you should be visiting the website every single day, everybody. Visit our website and every day, multiple times. And then I went back to Koei Tecmo for an interview with...
For the third time?
Third time, yes, this was my third time. With Tomohiko Sho, who is the producer and director of Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, Steam, all that good stuff. And we're going to have a full interview on that, of course, on our website. But this guy is also adorable, also a full-on creative guy. He was telling us about the different kinds of improvements that they are making on Orochi 4 Ultimate. Galen.
Sorry.
Silence your phone. This is a professional show. So this guy really listens to feedback too, because I mentioned, because he was talking about, so I asked him some stuff about what are you improving on the Switch release in particular with Orochi 4 Ultimate. Like, it's not just a straight up expansion with more characters and more story content, which would be great. It's also they're improving the frame rate, pop-in, resolution. They're working on all those things. So, you know, it's truly an improvement in all facets. So I mentioned to him, I was like, oh, that's really great. That's cool. You know, the game that you worked on with Hyrule Warriors, I remember there was these two modes, the performance mode and the quality mode. And I really liked having that option. And he goes, oh yeah. Oh, that's right. And then he pulled out his notebook. I didn't even say you should put this in, but he pulled out his notebook, and then he started writing down some notes. And then our translator, oh, I loved her so much. Her name was Carol. I'll never forget her. She's so lovely. She leaned into my recording apparatus, and she was like, the producer right now is making a note on Oni Dino's suggestion. And I was like, oh, Carol, I love you. Can I give you a hug? Just everybody at Koei Tecmo was so nice. I love meeting just creative people. So do check out for that. We talked to him about Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, which it was a little bit of a selfish topic for us to bring up, but it was just one question, so I think it was forgivable. Because he was the producer on both of those games as well. And I told him how much I loved those games, and he had some interesting stuff to say about, you know, that series, the Dragon Quest Heroes series. So awesome. Look out for that and more stuff on Orochi 4 Ultimate. Sorry, so many words. Have you played any of the recent Warriors games, Galen?
Oh, geez. I think the last Warriors game that I played was Hyrule Warriors, when I think about that. That's
a good one.
Yeah. And then before that, I think I played Gundam Warriors.
Oh, nice. Yeah, how was that one?
It was good. It went way deeper into the lore than I was familiar with. But you know what? I got to run around in the ones that I was familiar with, so I was happy about that.
Yeah. And then I wanted to mention, I forgot, Warriors Orochi 4 Ultimate is going to have over 170 playable characters. Unique characters.
Damn.
I know, what is going on? Like, it's just getting nuts. And I love that they're introducing all these gods from like Greek, Roman, and even Chinese mythology. Just that's cool. Just like doing all this stuff. Like they showed off Gaia. Gaia is super cool because she uses the, oh god, what's the Greek word? The hands of, I want to say Hephadrian, but that's not right. But like, she doesn't attack herself. Like, she's being held in the hands, and there's like thousands of hands that she uses as her attacks. Just really creative stuff. I love Koei Tecmo.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. And then I went on to meet with Square Enix, and we played some Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and this was a really cool demo because everybody. So it was a 4-player demo that they set up in meetings.
I do have to ask, who was the Chalice bitch?
Everybody did an okay job switching that around.
I don't believe it. It wasn't a live demo.
No, really.
There's always one person who gets stuck with that stupid chalice.
I mean, yeah, but, you know, it's okay. That is my one complaint that is still about this game. I wish they would give the option to do the Moogle holding the chalice, because if you're playing this game in 1-player mode, then the Moogle would hold the chalice for you, and you could kind of tell it where to go with it and whatever. I wish they would give that option in 4-player mode, because I feel like that held the game back. And that's still my only complaint so far. They've added a bunch of new features to it. They added a mini map, and lots of different ways to play. So this game is going to be released on phones, Switch, and PS4. So on our demo, everybody was playing like on a different platform except for phones, I think. But we were playing crossplay, PS4 and Switch.
That's awesome.
And you could tell, there was some input delay or input lag on a couple of things, but it wasn't an issue, and plus it's still in development. So
well, yeah.
I did like that though, because if it played perfectly, I would be like, you're doing some magic mirror stuff right now. You know what I mean? Like, is this really running off of a server right now? That kind of thought.
Yeah.
But they really did have it running off of a server, which I liked. So I'm looking forward to that one because there's crossplay. That's awesome. So that was also a problem with the original game on GameCube. Oh, God, I should be introducing this. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is a game that came out for the GameCube, and it was a 4-player adventure game. Everybody needed a Game Boy Advance and the link cable plugged into the GameCube to play it. You almost never got that happening.
I beg to differ.
I had it happen once. It was a ton of fun, but it was so hard. It was cumbersome to get that to happen, right? Mm-hmm. So with this, everybody's playing on phones, PS4, Switch. It's online as well as local, so you'll always have a match, a pair-up for this game.
That's awesome.
So that really solves like one of the biggest problems of this game.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this game because my experience with Crystal Chronicles was I never owned a copy myself, but plenty of my friends did, and every time I went over to their place and they're like, hey, let's all play Crystal Chronicles, it's gonna be awesome. Galen, you've never played this before. We'll start from level 1. Every time we tried, hey, we'll start from level 1. Here, just carry this thing around for a little bit and you'll be fine. We'll get you some levels.
You had
every
bad
single
friends.
time.
That is what I'm talking about. You had bad friends.
It is the same exact reason why I have never completed Tales of Symphonia. Because whoever I would play with would be like, hey, let's play this together. We'll start from the very beginning every single damn time.
Here, you'll be Genus, also off screen.
They always gave me Lloyd.
Oh. Well, that's a little bit nicer, but whatever, I don't like them.
Yeah.
if they made you play Crystal Chronicles over and over and you were the chalice holder, that's not a friend. They're using you.
Yeah.
Speaking of whatever, moving on. The next
Speaking
thing,
of bad friends.
No. Speaking of amazing friends, we were invited to the Bit Summit Roadshow.
Oh, yeah, that's good friends.
Yeah, totally. So I had to run all the way back to Tokyo.
Didn't you have to stop off by Koei Tecmo like one more time just to say hi before you?
No, that was the next day. Then I went to Ebisu, went to the Liquid Room, which is one of my favorite venues. I've been there so many different times to see lots of really good bands, and this was another amazing experience to chalk up to that venue. So they gave us, because we were press, free admittance and VIP lounge access with a bunch of free food and free drinks, which was nice. Met a ton of awesome developers and people creating things. People like Iga, Kamiya, Taura, they were all there. And we got to, I recorded some footage. I'm going to have to see how well that turned out. And then hopefully we can put it up on our website. It's an interview with Kamiya, Taura, and Inaba on Astral Chain while Taura plays Astral Chain.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really nice. So I got footage of that. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of editing on that, and that'll come a little bit later on our YouTube, Nin Everything. And it was really wonderful to network and get the names of a whole bunch of creative people in and outside of Japan in the games industry. So thank you so very much to the Bit Summit Roadshow for inviting us to that.
Neat.
Oh boy. And then the final official day of Tokyo Game Show, met with a lot of different indie people all up in the indie booth. The indie booth was officially supported by Nintendo, so there was tons of Switch titles going there. So it was great to talk with a lot of people who are passionate about Nintendo Switch, handing out our card. We're going to have lots of great interviews and podcast episodes coming up in the future when the respective indie developers have their games coming out. I met with Hitcents in particular, talking about their game Shores Unknown, which is a really interesting title, a fantastic blend of both Western and Eastern RPGs.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it reminds me as much of things like Baldur's Gate and like turn-based, like, I don't know, maybe Fire Emblem even, because there's strategy involved. At the exact same time. It's a really interesting title that they're working on, and we're going to have an interview on that and some impressions on that on our website. Tokyo Game Show is crazy. Oh. And then after that, the final interview was with Level 5. I met with a PR person regarding Yokai Watch, so we asked them lots of questions about Yokai Watch for Nintendo Switch, both 1 and 4, and their surprise announcement of 4 for the PS4, which was kind of crazy. So they had lots to say about that, so we'll have an interview coming up in the near future on that.
Did you ask them if we are going to get Switch remakes of Dark Cloud 2? Because that's what I would be interested in.
I wanted to. I wanted to ask them so many other different stuff, but they said let's just focus on Yokai Watch for this interview. So
I can respect that, but
I know.
Level 5. I'm just letting you know.
They have so many good properties that they've like not licensed out or worked with, whatever.
Give me White Knight Chronicles. Give me Dark Cloud. That's all I want.
Yeah.
So, Oni, with you running around and everything, how easy was it to get from place to place? Like, how were the crowds? How's the feel of the actual show itself?
So, it is interesting because the Makuhari Messe is the event hall that they have it in. It is enormous. It is really, really big, and that's great. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it's like where E3 should be.
I think I saw some of the... I think you did like an Instagram story or something like that where you like showed the hall itself, and that thing is huge. It's massive.
Yeah. There's technically, I think, like 10 halls.
Okay.
The latter few of them are a little bit smaller, but like the first 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever, those are huge. They're huge, huge, huge. It's bigger than the venue that, the LA Convention Center that they use for E3.
Okay.
It's just those two venues should be swapped because Tokyo Game Show is not as big, but they make great use of their space. The first 2 days of Tokyo Game Show are business days, so you can't go unless you have business. And then the second 2 days are public days, and that gets really crazy because there's lots of people there, really hard to do your job, honestly. So you have to try and squeeze everything into those first 2 days. And I kind of learned a few lessons for next year, which is good. But moving around was easy on the first 2 days, even though it's really busy. The latter 2 days is kind of difficult.
It was when everybody else showed up that it became a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But considering it's, very Japanese and Asian developer focused, there's lots of really great set pieces there. Like the Koei Tecmo booth with Neo was super cool. Konami went all out with Contra, and they had like all these like super muscular guys that looked like they were in the army, and like big old missiles hanging everywhere, and like fishnet stuff hanging everywhere. It looked like a battlefield. It was really cool.
That's
honestly
awesome.
The sets were great for everybody's booth.
Nice.
And there's a whole bunch of like smaller companies there too. They have like business solution areas too, which was great for like finding a publisher, finding a job, localizing games, a whole bunch of great stuff. So just a lot of variety there. I mean, you've been to lots of conventions like PAX and stuff, right? So you kind of know how it feels. But this one definitely had its own feeling.
Okay. So I guess that brings up a good question. So Tokyo Game Show is like, the way that I think of it, you put like E3, Tokyo Game Show, and like Gamescom, and those are like the 3 biggest I almost said battle royale, but that's totally not the right way to put it. But like,
I am firing you.
3 biggest events when it comes to like paying attention to what new gaming news is coming out around that time. So compared to E3, which is the other event that you went to, what did you notice or what did you personally feel that was similar, and what did you feel was unique?
So of course the venues and the size. Despite the venue, I think, being kind of too big for Tokyo Game Show, the amount of people that go to it, it makes up for the size. They don't announce as much like brand new stuff or whatever. They're mostly focusing on end of year or like later stuff, just because this is right before the holiday season, which is a big selling season in the West, and it's becoming even bigger in Japan as well. So there aren't, like with E3, you're like, what's going to be announced? In this one, it's like, okay, what are they going to build off of being like the latter event in the summer after things like E3 and Gamescom? And then there's also PAX that's also happening too. So it's just a big old slew of those things. And this is where they get to show off, okay, so we announced this at E3. We're showing you actual gameplay now. Okay. So there is that sort of feel with Tokyo Game Show. And I mean, of course, being Japan, it's just much more organized, which God do I appreciate. I will say, though, that the press situation, the way they treat press in E3 is better than at Tokyo Game Show.
Really?
Yeah, like, not that they treat you poorly or anything with Tokyo Game Show, but I was kind of surprised that they didn't, like, let press in a little bit early and give us access to our press room a little bit early than the actual show opens up. They did that for E3, of course. Yeah. So I wish they had done that. And, I mean, there was food and stuff for E3 press, and we had our own special room only for us. They didn't have food, but they did have free monster drinks for press at Tokyo Game Show, which I did not partake in because I don't feel like, you know, all of that would kill me. That would honestly kill me.
Absolutely.
But it was still good. They had, you know, LAN cables everywhere, so you were constantly wired into Thunderbolt fast internet, so you could make all of your things happen. They had little areas where you could put your stuff. They weren't lockers, but they were, you know, little cubbies. And just kind of being Japan, you don't have to worry about it being stolen or anything like that. So that was really nice.
Yeah.
Overall, it was a good experience. I just need to stay at a hotel in the near area for 2 days and try to do everything in those first 2 days. That's what really I need to try and do. But lessons learned.
Yet lessons for next year.
Oh, the Appa Hotel that's right next to it is so nice. So nice.
Well, there, get your reservations in now.
No, nobody go there. Only me.
So I guess the last question that I have for you is, with everything that you saw, what do you think you are most excited for after having all of your interviews?
God, that is a really hard and good question.
That, of course, you can talk about. I'll throw that disclaimer out there.
Yes, because honestly, that's two different things.
Yes.
I will say that Fairy Tail is what really... Fairy Tail or maybe Ryza. I knew about Ryza before, but like all the stuff that they showed me on Fairy Tail, I was like, whoa, this is my kind of game, for sure.
Awesome.
That was the most surprising.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything that came out that you cannot talk about that you are more excited for? Let me put it that way. No details, just...
You want me to talk about what I can't talk about? Who are you?
No, I'm just like, is there something that you really want to talk about that you're really excited for that you can't, but you are still very excited for it more than what we have been able to talk about? Because you've been talking about some pretty exciting things.
Yes.
So to know that there's something even greater coming on the horizons to stay tuned to the Nintendo Everything website for is a good thing.
Yes. Period. End of sentence.
Fair enough. Moving on.
So, Galen, I've been talking a lot. Thank you for putting up with me talking.
That's what I do.
No, don't interrupt. Why don't you tell me about the Swole RPG that's happening for the ring cons? What is this? What's this?
Swole Fit Adventure?
Hold on. There's a joke in there. It's just not presented well. I'll workshop it. Why don't you explain to everybody what is happening with the ring con?
All right.
What is this? Because I have not actually seen any of it. I don't know it. Explain it to me.
While you rep your brain trying to think of that, so Nintendo came out with something new called Ring Fit Adventure, and it is weird looking. So it is a leg strap for your Joy-Con that you attach to one of your legs, and the other one goes into a new ringed peripheral that you go ahead and like bend and flex and move around with. So they say that it is more than just a plastic ring, that it actually has circuitry inside of it to register the tension of how hard you are squeezing it and other things like that. And essentially what this is, it is the Wii Fit for the Switch generation. And I think they are kind of admitting that, hence the naming of it, called Ring Fit Adventure.
Yeah, and with that said, I completely agree with you. I think everybody's kind of thinking that as well. With that said, I'm glad that they kind of announced these separate, because it's almost like they're treating it as a truly, just like with Labo, a truly different product line. Like,
exactly.
This is a periphery, and I think that they're doing a really good job of keeping this separate.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is going to be a very interesting thing. My honest instinct is that give it about 4 or 5 years and we're going to find a bunch of these, at the Goodwill for about like $6 a piece without anybody knowing what to actually do with it. Just like the Wii Fit balance boards. But
I don't think it's going to be like that, but go on.
Yeah, it's interesting on how because they came out with a 7-minute trailer kind of describing everything that was going along with it. And what you do is they have a quote-unquote story mode where you are on an adventure to try to topple a bodybuilding dragon, which I think it was interesting that they put it that way. And they kind of displayed it like you're going through in a turn-based RPG, but the attacks that you're doing are the various exercises. So the ring that you're holding
excites me so much.
the ring that you're holding is your main weapon, and if you want to shoot an energy blast at it, you have to hold it forward and then squeeze it together, and it's all timing based as well. So it's not you're trying to do the activity as quickly as possible. It is you are doing the exercise that it is giving you, and how proficient you do that particular exercise is how much damage you are doing to the enemy.
I'm buying this. I am buying this.
And then when you are moving around in the actual stage, you are jogging in place, hence the leg strap that you put on there. It's just you doing various exercises and the Switch doing its best to keep up with you, try to register your movements, and taking it from there. So,
if you say turn-based RPG, you kind of already have me intrigued.
It is an interesting take, trying to interpret the Wii Fit motions and giving it that game element to it. There are also a number of different mini games that you can play that are exercise based. There are a number of different just straight up exercises and yoga poses and stuff like that you can do with the I think they called it a ring con.
Yeah, ring con.
It's an interesting setup.
You've got a tone in your voice. Tell me about this tone.
Well, before I get into that, just a couple more details. So, comes out relatively soon. Comes out October 18th.
Oh, Jesus!
Yeah, another one in October.
I mean, this makes sense because it's kind of a toy thing. It's more of a toy than anything marketing-wise. So it makes sense that this would come out before the holiday.
Mm-hmm. Another thing to know is that the game with the peripherals and everything like that comes up to about $80 US.
Okay.
So it is more expensive than your average game.
Yeah.
So
little pricey that.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too. I
think
on
70
the one hand,
it would be smart because it comes with your leg strap and your ring con, right? So you got to have extra money in there for the dollars.
Mm-hmm.
70 I think would have been a little better.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm sitting at. I'm sitting here saying, okay, you're paying an extra $20 to get the ring con and the leg strap. Is this really a $60 game? This looks more like a maybe a $40 game with what they've shown before in the past. And that's just my brain trying to divvy up the extra pieces to see where the value is, which is a moot point.
Yeah.
This looks interesting. it's not my jam exactly, so...
Maybe it should be your jam, now that you just lost a ton of weight from Japan.
Yeah, I sweated out like 10 pounds when I was over there. It is definitely an interesting and unique take on the Wii Fit formula. Like, I did not expect to see Wii Fit making a comeback.
Yeah.
So...
I'm gonna check this out at some point because it does intrigue me. If it goes on sale, I think I will buy it because I like the idea of a turn-based RPG and you're doing a little bit of exercise movements. I like the idea of exercise and I like when I'm doing it. I just don't have the motivation to get there. I've been doing a little bit of working out in my personal life lately and I feel great. I love doing it. I honestly do. But just, gotta stay active. Gotta treat this body right considering I'm getting old. And maybe the Ring Fit adventure will give me those sweet triceps that I crave.
Possibly.
And then, of course, the most important news this week. There's 2 duck-related announcements on the Nintendo Switch this week.
Wah.
Can you believe it?
I know.
Untitled Goose Game comes out this week, yeah?
I'm super excited about that. Yes. It
comes out.
It comes out on the 20th, and I'm sorry, Link's Awakening. Goose Game is more important to me.
Oh yeah, that's right. Link's Awakening comes out too. I'll get that eventually, but right now, sorry. Lots of people are gonna be playing that game. I'm sadly not one of them just yet.
Oh yeah, Goose Game is probably gonna be my additional DLC next week.
And then the other duck announcement, making me think about buying this game.
Really?
Is Surfetched, the evolution of Farfetched.
Yeah, this is, I didn't see this coming. I'm also very surprised that they would announce this without any other, like, partnering Pokemon or anything like that, because what's unique is that...
He needs to be on his own. He is that important. He's also a large boy, so he needs the room.
Oh,
He's
that's
under 3 feet tall, and he weighs 260 pounds.
That is a large boy.
He is a big boy.
To be fair, like 75 of those pounds are on the leak that he's carrying around.
So why don't you tell everybody who Surfetched is and what he looks like and everything.
So, old school Gen 1 Pokemon trainers will remember Farfetch'd and how he's been kind of solo. I don't think Farfetch'd has ever had an evolved form.
Correct,
if I
he has
remember
not.
correctly. Yeah. So, this is going to be the first time that he has any sort of an evolution form on him. Surfetch'd is a white version of Farfetch'd who has an enormous leak that has been cut up to a point and carrying around a shield along with him.
Yes.
Which it fits very well into the galore like region as a whole. Like this is the perfect fit for that.
Yeah, because it's like chivalry, like old British chivalry or something like that.
Exactly.
I'm loving all of these almost all of these designs. Really, they're so strong this generation.
Like, I imagine having one of these guys and just nicknaming him, like, Sir Reginald or something. Also, I'm loving some of the mock-ups and, like, the Twitter things that I'm seeing where
Twitter's going good for it. Yeah, they are.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite is that they replace his sword with the Alolan Executor.
Oh, that's cool. But it's not a sword, it's a lance.
Sword. He swipes it like it is a sword.
Does he? Or does he swipe it like it's a halberd? Because honestly, it looks like a lance to me.
That very well could be. You know
yes.
what? To all of you playing the home game, leave your comments below and tweet us to let us know if it is a sword or a lance or a halberd.
Most people don't listen to this on YouTube, Galen.
Well, then that's why you tweet us the stuff.
Or email. Throw out the email. Damn it.
Emails work too. I do want to point out one thing, though, is that if I am understanding this correct, this is a Pokemon Sword exclusive.
Oh, is he?
I think it is, because like when you are watching the actual trailer, it just shows the Pokemon Sword logo in it. So I think this is one of the first Pokemon that is version exclusive.
Interesting. I mean, that's kind of funny considering he's holding like a weapon and a shield, sword and shield or lance and shield, whatever it is.
So, and that's part of the reason why I was very surprised that they announced this as like a solo thing. Like, if we're now at the point where we are starting to discover version exclusive Pokemon, you think they would try to make it on like an even playing field here.
I don't know. I feel like if they're gonna do anything, they're gonna make them a little bit more different, like we've been seeing with the trainers being different.
Maybe.
And I don't know, because I'm not part of this audience that buys both, really. But I think that probably it makes more sense having a lot of differences between the two and finding that sweet spot in just the right way, so that way you can justify buying a second game. But I guess the people that already are buying the second games are, I don't know, the ones that are already doing it, so like you don't need to cater to that audience. I don't know. That's a hard one. Pokemon's in a weird spot, honestly.
Pokemon is in a weird spot right now.
But let's talk about this move that he has, Meteor Assault. It's a new move that they introduced in this game that only Sirfetch'd can learn.
Okay.
So he like throws his leak lance up, and then he does this big ol' attack, puts a huge strain on Sirfetch'd, however, and he won't be able to take action immediately after using the move. Oh my god, have you seen that?
So it's a hyper beam attack.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool. I like that. I love unique abilities with Pokemon. Also, I'm just checking up some information on Bulbapedia of all places, but they actually have a Pokedex entry on here of only Farfetch that have survived many battles can attain this evolution. When this Pokemon's leak withers, it will retire from combat.
I wonder if that's actually going to be a gameplay thing, or if that's just, like a little thing that they put in the Pokedex.
Yeah, who knows? I hope it is. I actually kind of like that.
So let's move on to some additional DLC. Oh, by the way, no, before we do that. Everybody, if we didn't talk about something that you want to hear us talk about that's come out in the past 2 weeks, please do send us an email or a tweet or whatever the hell, and we'll talk about it, because lots of stuff has been passing us by because we all been so busy. Oh, NintendoEverythingPod@gmail.com. Oh, man. Let's move on to additional DLC. Galen, what do you have to show for the folks? Share.
All right. So this week I have a game theory video done by Matt Pat.
Okay, not my favorite, but go on.
I know he's not your favorite. You have voiced that opinion. I've been a big fan of him in the past, but I really liked this latest video that he put up. The video is titled, "Do Video Games Cause Violence?" It's complicated. It's a great video. What I really appreciate about it is that he, even though he is a very prolific gamer, he approaches this from an objective standpoint, not taking a side on either one, but looking at all of the facts and kind of laying it out from like 3 different perspectives. Looking at it from a source of what studies have been done on the subject, what are the reasons and what could possibly cause it if this does happen, and I can't remember for the life of me. It's been like a week since I watched the video. But I really do appreciate when people bring up conversation topics like this, especially when you personally feel very strongly in one direction, and you still try to approach it from an objective standpoint. I feel like more people need to do that, and I feel like this video does a very good job approaching this topic in that kind of an objective way. So definitely recommend it. If you are turned off by Matt Pat's kind of, let's say, bombastic like YouTube personality, I can tell you that he definitely tones this down quite a bit, and he takes a much more reverent approach to this topic. So
I don't have anything for additional DLC. Sorry.
There you go.
Moving on. Let's read some emails. We have so many wonderful emails from wonderful people, and we got really kind comments from a couple of different people being like, we miss you. Oh, no. Mm-hmm. And thank you. We missed all of you as well, and I hope that this episode was somehow okay for you to listen to. And keep those emails coming. We love hearing from you guys. Galen, where can they write us the email?
Keep sending those emails to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
We want to hear nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Yes. And if you send in your emails, they may sound something like this. Something like Irik's email to us. Hey, Irik, how's it going?
Hello, Irik. You sent us a email that is topical, so we moved it ahead in the list. However, if you sent us an email before this one, and you have, because we have several, we will be reading it in order, so please do not worry. Your emails will be read.
I just couldn't help but read this one first, though, because Irik writes in, Hi, guys. I miss you this week. It turns out that you are my primary source for news about Nintendo.
I'm so sorry.
And now I'm so lost without you.
I'm so sorry.
I know you were right, believing for so long. I'm all out of love. What I am without you.
You said that wrong.
I did not say that wrong.
What am I without you?
What am I without you?
You're ruining
I can't be
Irik's
too late
poetry.
to say that I was so wrong. Please don't make these pauses a habit. I need my fix, Irik. Thank you, Irik.
Thank you, Irik. And leave it to Galen to ruin your poetry.
Absolutely.
We would not make these pauses a habit if it weren't for, I think, probably the only things that would cause a pause in our upload schedule of regular weekly uploads is that it would be, an emergency, like family emergency, or it would be something like this where like we're just too busy covering stuff that's related to the Nintendo Everything podcast that those very days. Like, I mean, with E3, we did a show even though I was busy with E3 because those days were like Monday through Friday or something. It wasn't like Friday through Sunday and everything. So we do apologize, but don't worry. This is no habit. Rest assured, Irik.
Was this an old Air Supply song?
I couldn't tell you. Irik, what is this?
I'm all out of love. What am I without? I think the lyrics are like changed a little bit, but it's like that when I was reading this the first time, that is exactly what came across my mind. So I'm really hoping this is the reference here.
I'll be honest, I know literally nothing outside of video games and Japanese. I know nothing.
Yeah, I can vouch for that actually. Yeah. And soup. You know a lot about soup, which always threw me off.
What are you talking about? What?
Moving on.
This sucks. Move on.
So, we have one more email we're going to read this week, and this one is from Chris. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Hi, Chris. Sorry. There's a pause. Hello, konnichiwa to Kurisu. Konnichiwa.
Chris actually wrote into us previously, as you'll find out a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote in asking about, or telling us about his experience with, I believe it was Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, and talking about his Magikarps and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
So, Chris writes in, and he actually has several points, so I'm going to take little pauses after this. So, number one. I agree with Oni when he said Galen says Baka stuff, and he says Baka stuff.
You're already, this is tripping.
You will never know what he said.
Yes, exactly. So, it was lovely having Galen's wife around when we're doing the podcast sometimes because she gives him the same looks that I think in my head. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, where are you going with this? So frequently it's like that, multiple times per episode. Mm-hmm. Also, Chris, I had a gigantic smile on my face the entire time reading your email because it's a big old mixture of like Japanese and English, and I like it. And I'll be doing some translating for the folks at home because I'm Sugoi.
Yes. So, Next one he writes in, the day I heard you read my first email on air, I got home from work and carrying around my Magikarp evolved into a Gyarados. So, yes, it did evolve to answer your question at the time.
Oh, great. It was on the same day?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's really cool. I like that coincidence.
That's how you get a Magikarp to evolve, by the way, is you have to write into the Nintendo Everything podcast. So if you want your Magikarps to evolve, just send that email.
I will say that all the Magikarp that I have been tweeting you, each and every one of those have evolved into a Gyarados. Moving on. So, it was nice to hear you remembered my email and name a few episodes ago. Points! But the fact that it came between a dad joke reference and then moved on to an anime boobs discussion was a little weird. Imagine my surprise upon hearing this. I almost lost my massage progress in Senran Kagura's. Asuka was wearing a big red ribbon, and your comments distracted me, and I had to make it up shaking that controller.
Okay, so hold on, I have to interject here. Everybody that writes in, I remember everybody's email. So big old points to everybody, not to us, but to everybody who writes in, because I remember you all. And that our memories come in between dad references and anime boobs discussion. Well, guess what Galen's favorite things to talk about are bad jokes, and then my thing, anime boobs. So it's just gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's just gonna happen.
There's no way around it.
I'm seeing that you're enjoying your Senra Kagura reflexology. What's it called? How do you like those Mickey Mouse hands petting your women?
Chris continues on. We are a 2-Switch family now. Well, a while ago, but we have 2 in the house. My son and I both have one. You guys have wondered how many households would be 2. We have 2. Both are the normal Switch, no lights here. And the Switch actually comes out Switch Lite actually comes out this week, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it releases the same time as Link's Awakening.
Yeah, Untitled Goose Game.
There's so many adverts for it in Tokyo. So many. Like every single train station I go to.
I loved going on the train station and seeing the Animal Crossing with Isabelle talking, and then all of a sudden it went into the advertisement for the Switch Lite.
Yeah, so those are all in Japanese, but they have like a running theme of Isabelle giving out what is it, like trivia about stuff. So she'll ask a question, then like wait for a while, and then she gives you the answer of the trivia. And I love those kinds of things. It really helps pass the time when you're going between stations.
That's a lot of fun. Chris finishes up by saying both of the versions that he has are the normal Switch, no lights. He can't play Senran Kagura Reflections on it, so no buy for the light for him.
That's true. That's true. You gotta keep your creepy sex pervert stuff on the normal Switch. I mean, that's why I'm not buying a light, honestly.
Well,
I can't pet my woman with my Mickey Mouse hands. That's what I want.
Obviously. I do also want to point out, though, that is another thing to consider, because you cannot play the Ring Fit Adventures with the light.
Can't you? You just have to have another set of Joy-Con.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean...
It's cumbersome.
Exactly.
That's only for if you're playing your booby games that don't involve, motion. And so then you play your booby games real close to your face, so that way nobody else can see it. That's for the light people. The motion booby gamers, like Chris and myself, we need our full-size Switches for large men.
Well, there you go. Chris, it seems, can also relate to you on another topic here.
Oh my god, this one.
So, I also think I know why Oni has such a problem with all his kotobas all the time.
That means words.
I think that he hotondo nihongo futsu ni.
Yep, so, I'm usually in Japanese speaking regularly. Great English, me.
So his no miso is saisho kagaeteruing in Japanese.
You screwed that up even worse than before we recorded. You were like, how do I say this word? And you said it pretty close. And then this time, you said it even worse.
Kangaeteruing, right?
Yeah, there you go. That one's better. So yes, my brain is first thinking in Japanese oftentimes.
So since the juban of all the words are hantai in Eigo and Japanese, they come out all machigai, and it's probably osoi for Oni and his jikan zone, so that adds to the mandai.
Yes, so the word structure is backwards in both English and Japanese, and they do come out all screwed up, so it is a little bit slow for me in my time zone. That's a direct translation, so it adds to the issues, yes.
Mai ni santo.
The 2 cents that he has, yes, of course. Translation for all the funds peoples at home. I'm so bad at English. I'm bad at speaking, honestly. That's my problem. Please hire me to write words.
All right.
Oh God, there's so much more.
There's so much more, but
this gets into the really
this is a good bit.
Yeah. So usually we won't read like the really long ones, and we'll try and shorten them down a little bit. But like Chris, pretty much everything you wrote was just like so like meaty that we really appreciate it, really, and we do want to read it on the show. So thank you very much for writing in such solid stuff.
Gotcha. So this part is not really for the show, but just a question, and excuse my curiosity.
No, we loved it, so we're gonna read it.
Absolutely. When I was in high school, I had a friend who came out to me and our friends a year or so later to his parents.
Start over, my God. No, wait, I'm gonna leave it all in. Keep going. This is supposed to be a serious part, too. It's never happening.
Yeah. So I had a friend who came out to me and our friends about a year ago or so later to his parents. I remember that night he told his parents, and then he came over late one night and he was banging on my window asking to come out and talk. He didn't want to come in and talk with me or my parents. I asked if we could go out with him since I was still in school, and it is, as I said, very late. He told me that his parents were very upset with him being gay, and he just needed to talk with someone about it. We drove to the desert where we would go for walks. He cried, and I just held him, and as a kid, I didn't know what to say, but hoped that his parents would come around. They did in a way, but I don't think they accepted it really. I left to join the Marines in '85, and as I told George Takei, humble brag coming, in Nihongo at, I think this is Phoenix Fan Fest, he made me when he heard me speak a little Japanese. That when I left to join the Marines, that the Constitution never specifies black, white, Asian, Latino, etc., gay or straight or non-binary, and my duty was to protect all of us, and was proud to do this. So, to my question, how is Japan changing now? When I lived there from 85 to 96, in the Kanto area, and being gay was not that accepted. For gaijin, it was okay and on TV, talento, but I never saw that much acceptance. George said that there was one Ken Saitama that was...
Ken is like a prefecture.
Gotcha. That was going to allow gay marriage, so I'm glad to see that things are becoming better. I know Oni is already married, so that doesn't affect him. I just want to know if he notices a difference in Japan from a few years ago.
So thank you so much for writing in on this kind of topic. We really appreciate this, and we want to open up our questions to life topic stuff as well. And if there's anything that we can talk about, we're happy to share our experiences as well. So thank you so much. Before I get into your question on some of this stuff, I just want to commend you. Well, of course, thank you for your service and everything. That is such a incredibly respectable thing that you have done. Saying that kind of statement about the Constitution never specifying any kind of race, creed, gender, that kind of stuff. absolutely wonderful, absolutely selfless, and I love that people like you exist. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just like as a gay person who had, trouble with coming out and trouble accepting themselves, it is really fantastic that you could be there for your friend in that time when his parents weren't there, other friends weren't there for him, and he didn't know what the hell to do. And like, I don't know exactly which age this is, but you said like kid and you put it in like parentheses, so I assume that probably you were like upper teens or something like that. So anyway, that is a really fantastic thing that you were just there and just listened to your friend who is like just struggling, like, oh my god, what do I do? Because I mean, for example, homelessness in the States, at least, because this is the only statistic I really know, but homelessness in the States and suicide in the States has a disproportionately large amount of those people being gay or transgender or whatnot, just because they struggle with it in such a way that can be self-destructive. And then, I mean, like homelessness, that's not like a self-destructive thing. That's more of like I'm being kicked out or whatever. And I don't know what to do because I'm 12, Like,
yeah.
God, sorry, I laughed at that. And I'm laughing at the awkwardness of it because it's horrible and awful. So anyway, thank you for being a friend to your friend. So anyway, to go on to your question, how is Japan changing now? They are changing and they are going into a more accepting direction with this, but like all change in Japan, it's happening very slowly. Japan, as I'm sure you know because you lived in the Okinawa and Kanto area for 11 years, they're conservative in the truest sense of the word. Just resistant to change. There's a way to do absolutely everything, and that is the way, and you can't really deviate from that. There's that saying in Japanese about the nail that sticks out gets hammered. It's a conformist society, which is all of the positives and the negatives that come with being a conformist society. You can stand on an escalator and everybody stands on the left and everybody walks on the right, and nobody deviates from that. And if you do, everybody gives you bad looks. And, you're on the trains and everybody's quiet on the trains, except for like, the crazy nights. And nobody talks on the phone. And, those are the positive parts. But the negative part is it's very oppressive and it affects a lot of things. And it's one of the afflictions of like their low birth rate. And that's a huge complex issue. But anyway, going back to your question, sorry. By the younger people, it is being more accepted. There still isn't gay marriage in a legal sense in Japan. There is one ward, so it's a ku, not a ken, in Tokyo. It's, I believe, Shibuya-ku. That is the one that issues gay marriage certificates. I don't know exactly what the word is, just because, like you said, I'm already married, and so it doesn't affect me, so I haven't really looked into it. But they issue this certificate, and I'm not sure exactly what it does. I think that it is a bit more cosmetic than it is actual reform or actual change. I think it's a great propaganda. And I'm not saying it's like just like bad or whatever, because every little bit of change facilitates more change. Just like with like a protest or something, where people will complain about a protest and they'll say like, well, what did that do? It's like, well, that's the baby steps, So I'm glad that there is that. However, I don't think that it actually does anything on a legal sense. Like, say you're married or have the certificate, your partner is in super critical condition from a car accident. I think that you still can't go visit them because you're not an immediate family or whatever. Like, there's those situations where marriage is on paper and the legal situation is really important. And I don't know if that affects that. So it needs to move forward at a faster rate, like a lot of change in Japan. But that's just kind of what I've seen. And as you said too, like, it's a little bit more accepted for gaijin, because like gaijin is like the foreigner word. So as long as you're not Japanese, then foreigners do what foreigners want because Japanese are Japanese, and we're very different, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's not a healthy way to think, in my opinion. And then Tarento, of course, that's super accepted. So Talento are like the people on TV that are like TV personalities, whether they're a comedian or a musician or whatever. They do like all kinds of multimedia on TV or whatever. That is super accepted because being gay is like funny, and like the gay people are all really effeminate, or they're all just like bombastic, flamboyant people. But that's of course not the case. Like there's all kinds of gay people, just like there's all kinds of whatever people. Insert, switch the word gay with anything else, and there's all kinds of those people, because being your sexual preference doesn't determine your personality by any means. It's one little sliver of your personality, but yeah. So that's also part of the double-edged sword, because there's the misconception that like, oh, if you're gay, then you live this very specific lifestyle or something like that among the people who don't know about being gay. That's a problem, I think, in society pretty much everywhere, just because it's a misunderstood minority. But I guess the short answer is that it's moving in the right direction, but it needs to move faster. And I don't know, if I didn't answer your question properly, feel free to write back in or like expand upon this, and let's have a little more chat on here. I'm happy to talk about these kinds of things. Galen, being both gay and Japanese, what do you think about this?
I'm neither of those things, but okay.
Yeah. I'm kidding. I just was like, I've been talking a long time. Galen, say something.
All right, I will say something.
Now move on. Let's go. I don't want to hear.
Yeah, let's move on. Because he did, Chris here did finish up his email with another bit. He says, I have seen changes for people with disabilities in Japan, in commercials and on TV shows, and I see the web-based ads asking for gaijins to come and work in Japan and do your startup there, which was kind of a surprise. I was kind of surprised by. My wife asks, what will Japan look like in 10 to 20 years? I said it will probably look a lot like here in the US. She is from Okinawa. Now that he says, now that I have read this, it's a rambling mess, I am typing during an online meeting for change control. You know what? I accept it. That's cool. I am just saying that I hope the Japan I knew is changing for the better. As a funny aside, my wife teaches at a Saturday school for Japanese expat kids, and we went on what's an ensoku? I haven't heard that word before.
It's a field trip, a little school field trip.
Okay. So we went on a field trip to the zoo, and I walked up to her and her friends, and they were all standing around talking before all going in. And I said to them, Gaijin ippai eru desu ne. There are a lot of foreigners here. They all started looking around. I then said, no, it's you guys that are the gaijin. And they laughed and so desu-ne'd me. And yeah, he finishes it up with Jane Kurisu, or Chris.
Thank you very much, Chris, for writing in.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed all of that email. Mm-hmm. And yes, Japan is changing, just very slowly. So the problem is that like everything that like we're hearing with a lot of the changes that they're making comes with a big caveat. So there's a lot of commercials and programs on getting non-Japanese people to come to Japan and work, spend money, do a startup, purchase houses. However, there, as you know, but as many of our listeners maybe don't know, there's a big difference between like what's legally happening or accepted in Japan versus what is socially accepted in Japan. So there's a really oppressive work system in Japan, for example, where you can't leave before your superior leaves. So you're a salary person, you've worked your 40 to 50 hours per week already. However, your superior is still at work. You can't leave work, socially speaking.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're in big trouble. And everybody thinks of you as not a hard worker. So you might just sit there and not do anything. And that's what leads to your 80-hour work week. And if you're lucky enough to have a partner and children, you don't even know your partner and children because you never frickin' see them. So legally, they're putting in a lot of measures to encourage people to leave at 5 p.m. or whatever closing time is for business workers on Friday. It's called Premium Friday, and I hadn't heard about this until like maybe last year. So it's like the last Friday of every month or something like that. So that's like legally mandated. However, businesses are like not following it at all just because nobody wants to be the one that starts doing it. Then there's also like it's the month end, so there's a lot of orders we have to get put into our system, or we work in the accounting department, so end of month is always really busy for us. There's all these excuses, and
Yeah.
those are the kinds of caveats that come with a lot of changes in Japan. Foreigners can come to Japan and they can purchase a house, but you can only purchase a house in certain areas, and like the local like pushback is kind of big in certain areas, because a lot of the places that they want you to purchase houses are the dilapidated houses, or the houses that people have moved away from because so many people have been moving into Tokyo because that's where the opportunities are, and the population is decreasing in so many areas that they're becoming like semi-ghost towns. And that's where they want you to buy the houses. So there's always these big caveats with all these things.
Well, and also, so when I was over there, I noticed two things. One, I noticed that there was a lot of promotion, a lot of different news articles, and we watched a little bit of the news while we were getting ready in the morning that were dealing with the upcoming Tokyo Olympics. And just getting ready for that, and reading this email made me think about all of the attention on these kind of social aspects, and how the Japanese want to present themselves to the rest of the world when everybody's going to be looking on them during this event. So that is one thing. And also other reasons that they are wanting to employ the shorter work days, or encouraging people to kind of go home more and enjoy their family life, is because of the lower birth rate that everybody is going through.
It's a huge problem. They have a huge social security crisis.
Absolutely. So I can't speak with the same sort of experience that you can, or the insight that you can on this one, but I do think that they are going to be seeing a slightly faster change in some of the ways that they think in some of their policies, but I think it's going to be coming from a state of they absolutely have to, in order to maintain certain bits of their culture and their identity.
So I'm not hopeful on that, honestly, at all. I think that they're already at the critical moment of things need to change, but they're so resistant in terms of policymakers and stuff, so resistant to change that it's going to be too late for them to change in a lot of different ways. Japan, in terms of being an economical power, is incredibly important despite it being a small country. And I think that especially with the Olympics, this is just me speaking here, but they're going to be sort of exposed that they're behind on a lot of different things, despite everybody thinking that they're so forward thinking or whatever. They're super behind on a lot of social progress, on a lot. I mean, the positives are killing Japan, There's so many centurions because their health is so good, their diet is so good. That's killing Japan, though, because the birth rate is so low. So then there's not people feeding into the social security funds. Their taxes were super low forever. It was 5% not that many years ago, and then now it's going to jump up to 10% just before the Olympics. Suddenly your taxes, your consumption tax is twice as much as it was before, and it's just nuts. And then they need to bring in more non-Japanese people, but then they're afraid of their culture getting destroyed or I don't know, muddled. And that's a completely honest fear, because Japan has such a very strong and protected culture. But I don't know, fear can't drive, and conservatism can't drive every decision you make. Otherwise, this is kind of what you get right now. So I'm really worried for Japan in terms of being a important political and economical power in the near future.
Yeah. What I really hope is that they kind of realize that they need to make certain changes sooner rather than later.
Me too, but sooner was 10 years ago.
Exactly. But I mean, they're already starting to get to that point that they need to make choices, and they're not going to be able to control which choices that they make. Like they're going to be forced into making certain choices.
Yeah. So like, what is Japan going to look like in 10 to 20 years, honestly? Because in 40 or 50 years, the entire the half of the country is going to die of old age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you, Chris, for so much of this food for thought and for having us get a little bit off of topic. I mean, it is related to video games too, though, because like Japanese video game development is super important. You know, we need Japanese people to exist to make Japanese games. So this is related to video games in a very tangential way. So thank you for this great topic. Please do write into us, everybody. Oh, sorry, Galen, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, I love kind of like addressing some of these relatable to video games, but still there's a much broader like topic of conversation going on here. Like, yeah. I like this question.
And like going back to like being gay or homosexual and video game relation, for me a huge part of video games was my escape into that. And you know, everybody needs to find their own escape from something and into something. And I think that's why a lot of gamers, there's a pretty large population of gay, non-binary, transgender, LGBTQ+, all those people that flock to video games is because you can relate to so many different characters, just like they flock to comics as well. You can relate to a lot of these characters. So I like having these kinds of conversations. I don't know if it's a conversation. It's a topic of discussion.
Yeah.
That can relate to those people.
Yeah. And as a straight heterosexual male on this one, like
cisgender male,
I can still very much appreciate the homosexual community that have embraced video games, because for me personally, it has given me an element to relate to people like this, and it just made me realize just on another level that there really is like no difference. Like there's that one aspect, but really it's you need to get to know these people because everybody can always be relatable in some ways. So there's no reason to ostracize or to look poorly on somebody for a particular decision, because at the end of the day, let's just all hang out and play games.
We're all human beings.
That's so corny.
We're all human beings. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Hey, you know what my additional DLC is? I just thought of it. Everybody try and be kind. It's hard because a lot of people say a lot of stupid shit on the internet, but just try and be kind.
Link in the description. Link of be kind in the description below.
Yeah. I'm super busy, so I haven't been able to, get back to these comments. But like, I remember reading about like the Bernadette controversy that happened like a week ago or so, with one of her lines being changed in like a recent update or something, and a lot of people freaking out about it. I wrote like a blank comment, like to nobody in particular, and was just like, oh my god, like people are so hypocritical. Like the original Japanese wasn't like all of that text anyway. But like I wrote that comment while this old lady was getting grabby on my butt, and I was transferring back and forth between the Tokyo Game Show, and then, I got this gross guy coughing in my face. It was just an awful situation, and I'm looking at my phone trying to pretend that none of this is existing. Very Tokyo Japanese of me, and I'm writing this mean comment because I'm in cranky mode. And then a bunch of people responded to it. A couple of people, were like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying and everything. And then some people were like, yo, you're being an asshole. And I was being an asshole, and they're totally right. My additional DLC is don't do that. Like, try your best to not write that comment, because they were right that I was just being inflammatory, even though I wasn't being inflammatory to somebody in particular, because I do have that line drawn in the sand. I didn't need to write that kind of comment. I could have written a bit more informative comment. And then, people were like, oh, you should post sources and stuff. That makes sense. Otherwise what you're saying is BS. And I don't really agree with that, because this is just a comment board on the internet. But it would help my argument, but I wasn't trying to start an argument too. So all of that could have been avoided by being nicer, and that's my additional DLC.
There you go.
Yeah, most and definitely. Probably those people don't like me, so they probably don't listen to this podcast. But in case you all do, thank you for listening, and I definitely don't have any ill will, and I will respond to your comments in the comment section in the near future. Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah.
I just want to point out I missed this part from Chris's email at the very end where he says, "Thanks, and I hope Galen enjoyed Japan, and he hope he wonders like I do, where the hell is a garbage can in this town?"
Yeah, that's another interesting
I thought that
thing.
several times. More importantly, it was like, where's a recycling bin in this town?
Yeah. So usually, but not always, a kombini will have them, but not always all of them. The different, separate garbages for different kinds of garbage. But it's an interesting aspect of Japanese social culture where everybody is responsible for their own garbage, and it makes you think about what kind of garbage you create. That's good, but I don't know why everything is wrapped in several layers of plastic. Knock it off. Knock it off.
At the hotel that we stayed at, they had Q-tips that were individually wrapped and for
so wasteful
to give to everybody, and everything was wrapped, and it was I get the present aspect and presenting this to somebody, but there are limits, man. There are limits.
It goes against, it's the antithesis of what you're trying to do with the garbage sorting. Anyway, let's move on. How long have we been recording? Oh my god, let's go. So there's a lot of stuff coming up on NintendoEverything.com. Definitely some interviews.
You want to know what's coming up? Re-listen to this podcast.
We also want to know what's coming up on NintendoEverything.com. We will pay attention to the website as you will as well. And then you can check out our Twitter, of course, where we post the articles. That's at NinEverything. And our YouTube, NinEverything, where we'll be posting some great gameplay of all the stuff that's been coming out. And I'll be posting some information on there after I go through the videos. So do stay tuned for that. You can tweet at me if I'm the worst. I expect a lot of tweets at Oni_Dino. And then my Instagram, where I'm still going to be doing some more adventures in Asia for you all to pay attention to. I'm really bad at just thinking about oh, I need to put this on social media. So trying to do better for you, for all of you guys who want to check out my meltdowns.
To be fair, you have a phone that is not very encouraging for the Instas.
That's true, but I have another phone that is, and so I carry both of those on me all the time.
Then you have no excuse, and you should be ashamed.
Galen, why are you talking about yourself? My Instagram is at Oni __ Dino. It is your autobiography. Thank you for speaking over me when I use my handle. Instagram is __ Dino. Oni __ Dino. Galen, where are you being an idiot on the internet?
Well, you can always see me being an idiot on the internet on Twitter at Mobius087, and you can follow my my lessons of self-discovery in the ways of Instagram filters at true_Mobius. Which
you have to get your branding on point. Just make both of those the same.
I really should. I really, really should. But yeah, I think I'm going to do a recap of my favorite pictures and post them up on my Instagram sometime this week.
Oh, that would be great. You should do that.
Yeah. I took several lovely pictures of the Kyoto Zoo. Not so many pictures of the Inari Shrine because I was just a puddle when I was going up that.
Galen climbed a mountain, everybody. He climbed up to the very top of Fushimi Inari Shrine.
I'm still not sure that I survived that climb, but I did go up it.
Yeah. You should be really proud of yourself. That is a rough hike.
Yeah.
And then please do check out my YouTube that I do with my husband, Cliff. That's Game Married, GAYME Married. And we have an upload schedule of 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, in terms of the States time. And that's just a temporary schedule. In the future, we'll be going back to the 6 days a week, so that way things are super fast. Right now, we got some Oninaki. That was a viewer request from Tom. So
yeah, you guys are going through the demo right now, right?
Yes, we're going through the demo. I can't remember how many episodes there will be of that. Maybe 3. I can't quite remember. But Tom really wanted to hear about my insight on Japanese culture because that game deals with a lot of death. So I try and talk about that in the game quite a bit with my husband. So check that out. Astral Chain has also just started. Cliff is playing that, and he's doing a great job, honestly. And what else are we playing? Got some more Never Give Up, where we both lose our minds and scream.
Oh, they make me so happy.
Do they?
They really do.
And there's some other stuff going up. It's kind of all over the place in terms of which things are going up, because I'm trying to keep it varied. but there's something for everybody absolutely on there.
You know, we are coming up to October. Do you have any scary games on your schedule coming up soon?
I definitely do. It's going to be not the immediate beginning of October. It'll definitely be, I think, maybe the second week of October is when it starts, though, just because I come back in the first week of October. So then as soon as I get back, we'll record some scary games. Definitely my favorite time of year. Gonna get super spooky with the skeletons. Gonna get those spook boys.
I am going to give you 1 month, however, to play the scariest game of all, Untitled Goose Game.
That'll be on the show for sure. Love video games. So thank you for hanging out for 2.5 hours or whatever the hell we're up to right now. I really hope that you guys are enjoying the show. Please do write into us and tell us like what works for you and what doesn't work for you, because every once in a while I get like some really good comments that are like, oh, I loved this episode, or that one was a really good one, or, you know, I'll wait for this. And that's great to hear. I really appreciate your feedback, but I want to hear like some good critical feedback about like why this particular thing works for you or why this doesn't work for you. So that way we can keep making the show better.
Tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 which of my jokes you hated. And
this,
no, you
this
can't.
Is the
you
Bacchus
can't.
stuff that Chris is talking about. That was a dumb sentence, Galen.
I was about to say you can't use 10 on all of them.
Oh man. Anyway, please also, if you really like our content, please do leave us a rating on things like iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, or like wherever you can give us a rating. But iTunes in particular helps us out because it's our biggest listening platform. So it really helps us get in front of new people, helps us grow the show, which means that we can put out some better content for you guys. That's kind of how it works. God, the internet is the internet is the rideshare of sadness in cabs. Does that make sense? Everybody has to depend on everybody, and everybody has to like pitch in.
This podcast is a Shibuya meltdown of podcasts. Sure. If anybody doesn't know about that, I just learned about it through some of my friends. There's a hashtag. Fantastic.
There's a hashtag or a Twitter account called Shibuya Meltdown. It's very accurate of what you see, not just in Shibuya, but just like in other places. Honestly, Shibuya is not one of the most messy downtown areas. I would say Roppongi is way more messy. Shinjuku is way more messy, but that's what you see. Check out that Twitter, because that's my additional DLC. Why not?
Be kind to everybody and hashtag
Have a meltdown.
Shibuya meltdown.
Oh man. Okay, let's go next week. I gotta edit this, then I gotta do a whole bunch of other stuff that's post-content coverage. Oh my god. Thank you everybody for joining us. We really appreciate it, friends. Stay tuned for next week. And for everything Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
Mata ne, mata naishu.
Sayonara.